Hello, I'm Joseph Frost. Welcome to the Joseph Frost Podcast. I'm your host, and this is the first and pilot episode of this podcast. I'd like to start this podcast off by saying thank you for listening. I'd also like to tell you what I plan on doing here at the Joseph Frost Podcast. I plan on having monologues, interviews, discussions, group chats, group interviews, and more on here. And the podcast might go live sometimes in the future. I or other people may sometimes say something funny too. Right now, I'd like to tell you about myself and some of the current things about me as of this episode. My birthday is January 18th. I'm an occasional and hopefully to be published one day story and songwriter, and now the host of the Joseph Frost Podcast. I'm a Christian who loves God and my family and friends. I'm single, and I like swimming and blackjack and many other things, including this podcast. My favorite food is my parents' food and Chinese food. My favorite band is Dewey Brothers, and my favorite singers are Michael McDonald and Taylor Swift. Thank you for getting to know me. Now I'd like to talk about some of the current state of society today and how we should and can change that. Recently, for the last few years, things have been really divisive here in America, and it's a shame. It wasn't always like this, and this nation has a history of uniting together and putting our differences aside at times, and we can at least do better at getting along and sometimes even coming together for the common good. Ever since 2015, when the 2016 election campaign started, this country has been mostly divided and sometimes virtually torn apart. And it's only gotten worse ever since, and that's still happening even now during a worldwide pandemic, which will hopefully end sometime soon. It's no secret that 2020 was a hard and trying year for us, but do we really have to continue to constantly fight with each other about almost everything, all the time, and then try to ruin the other person's life just because we disagree with them? We can all agree to disagree and still be good people to one another, and find a way to positively solve the problems we have today without being ruthless morons towards each other. The last election was a big one, and the most contested one in 20 years. My question for you is this. Do you think President Donald Trump will run again in 2024? Please let me know your answer on Twitter by tweeting to me on my Twitter at the handle @JosephFrostCW, saying your answer and using the hashtags #JosephFrost and #JRPodcast, and also either the hashtag yes or the hashtag no to answer to my question. And if I get enough answers, I might mention what you, the listeners, thought in a future podcast. That's all for the episode of this podcast, but before I go, I'd like to say thank you for listening to the Joseph Frost Podcast, and God bless you. I'm Joseph Frost, and I'll see you next time.